How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Today's guest and her identical twin sister, Jody Brown, are what I would call the true entrepreneurs. They are what I would say are the true epitomes of business people. Besides being hairdressers as a foundation, they are co-owners of the Salon Professional Academy's franchise group, which has 30 plus schools across the United States. They are co-owners of the Salon Professional Academy in North Dakota. They are partners and EVPSs, which is the executive vice presidents for the Spec franchise. Their 25,000 square foot salon, yes, I did say 25,000 square foot salon, and MediSpa is in Fargo, North Dakota. They've been voted top 100 salons by Elle Magazine 4 times. And so let's get into this week's head case. Jill Krahn. Well, Jill, we talk sometimes weekly, so for the viewers and the listeners, oftentimes I'm doing these with people that I might be meeting the first time. By the way, it is probably 9:00 in the morning, and no, I have not been drinking. That's just my mouth. But Jill, we talk regularly, but I had very specific reasons for having you on, and I just wanted to first of all say it's good to see you and welcome to Headcases.
Always good to see you, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, so just for the people that are listening and watching, Jill, besides being business partners in a couple ventures, etc., we're close friends, and we've done everything from party together to cry together to whatever when it comes to everything that we've done. So the reality is, I just wanted to say that it's great to have you on. One of the main reasons that I've got you on here, Jill, is when I talk to so many salon owners, and I'm sure this applies to many businesses as well. They start with their business and then they don't know how to get out of it. They just say, I want to sell, and then it's time to sell. And I don't want to talk about that now, but I want to give that to everybody so you know kind of where we're going with this. But I want to set up Jill just with a little bit of background for everybody. So Jill, you have, and we were just talking beforehand, and you said that Modern Salon just wanted to do a piece on you. So what was that about?
They called us and they want to do a piece on our salon because it's the largest salon in the USA. So they did an article. I've seen the proof, and we did a video, and I haven't seen that yet, but I'm thinking it'll come out any day.
Yeah. So everybody can look forward to that. And I must tell you, and Lee will try to bring up some of these pictures in here, but I wanted, because I've been there, I've had, I'll call it not body work, but I've had massages there before, and your staff is incredible. But it's just, I think, the mere size of the place that shocks people when you think about that the average salon has 6 people in it. And so tell us about how many, give us the kind of the broad scope of stations and setup that you have inside.
Honestly, I had people in town say, oh, they're never going to make it. It's too big. And we actually could add on, especially our med spa and our spa has really grown. So we're double shifting there. I'm lucky because I have my own school. So I have my own resource center for staffing. So, it's worked really well.
So how many stations? Because it's usually what most people will go, they'll size. Well, if they're not familiar with size, they'll go, well, how many stations do you have? How many employees do you have? So give us some insight into that.
I believe we have 26 stations that are almost 4 walls. And then we have 15 that are a little bit more private. And then we have 20 some treatment rooms. That's how our stations are. So you feel like you're somewhat private, which is nice because we really wanted the service provider to focus on the guest. I just hate it when service providers are talking to each other and not focusing on the guest. So this was for the guest experience. And we built this in 2017. We had no idea about COVID. So when COVID hit, this was like a hit. We had people driving from Minneapolis, which is 3 hours away, just because of the distance, social distancing.
Yeah. So, and now I'm not sure if it's still that way, but I know that at one time you had, people were literally, how would you call it without being, they were poaching your stylists for independent salons. And are you still where you have an area where you have a commission base and you can have your people can go and be independent within your organization as well?
Yes. So every state is different. So, basically our front desk is a different company, so it can answer the phones for all these different companies. That's the grotto that you see there. It's our marching bar.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we have 4 stages of people's lives. So we call it our lifestyle salon. One where they come right out of school. They're onboarded into the company. Some people like our hourly pay, and then it's based on, bring in, it can go up. Then we also have commission pay. And then we have a mini booth where this works really good for moms. So they can share their booths as well. And they're independent. But everything goes through our front desk because I'm really against not reporting your taxes. So I'm kind of a unique independent. But because they love the fact that they have a receptionist and, they have all the services that come with it. So that makes a big difference. And then we have some that have it even a little bit more private. They just want more room and they want to do their own retail.
So how does it work for inventory? Like, how does it work for, because if you have people that are hourly commissioned, and that on the other hand, you have independent people in there as well. And independent people, I think by law, have to purchase their own products. How do you make that work?
We change the way we do inventory in all aspects of the salon. We have a dispense, just like you used to see in beauty school. And we have a person that's running it all the time.
Miss Martha will be in the back with your slip to take.
In fact, ours is Miss Abby. And they, weigh everything and record it. But it's basically parts and labor. We kind of went like a car dealership. Instead of the percentage, because the percentage would always hurt the person that's doing the most haircuts, but not the person that's doing the most color. So it really didn't make sense. But parts and labor is factual. And what's cool, when the guest checks out, they see the parts and labor. So I don't have to control the stylist so much on waste because the guests do it for me.
Yeah, so just to be clear, the labor would be the services that you're providing, and the parts would be whatever costs were incurred through inventory, et cetera, yeah?
Correct.
Nice.
It made a huge difference. We saved $30,000 a month. $30,000 a month just switching to that program. Now, it was a lot of work to set it up because we had to find out our cost per ounce, per half ounce. But once you get through that, and then we just have our inventory person work full time on checking if it changes because, prices have gone up since we opened, and just keeping everything current.
Your distributor must love you at that rate.
So we have like our own little mini distributor center in that dispense. So even the people that are independent, there's many different little openings in it, and they can come to it, ring the bell, the lady comes over, weighs it, puts it in the computer for them, and then it gets charged to their account. And that
way they don't have to have a huge inventory in each of their booths, and it keeps it legal.
I was hearing so many people from Salon Centric in Fargo was saying that people would come 2 or 3 times a day because they didn't have the money for the color they were about to do. And I thought, well, we'll just set up our own little dispense and they can use it too. Yeah. And we pass on the savings to them too. If we have any specials or anything, we're just trying to be very transparent.
Yeah. And what prompted, I know this all came about, you had this built in when you built this large Medi Spa, correct? So, but what happened, what prompted, what made the shift in your brain when you went, listen, while I and these are my words, not yours, so you can bring them out, but I'm trying to give some context to this. You said, look, this is not working because the industry has shifted, et cetera. And so rather than just sit, like, what was the spark that you went, okay, well, if we can't make this work as commish, we're going to shift. And what happened there?
So we just saw that it really wasn't working to take a percentage because of the people that cut the most got hurt the most, and they really weren't using that product. And the people that were using a lot of product paid less. So it didn't make sense. So we just took everything out of our thought process, and we decided to come up with our own. And then we just thought about the car dealership. And we actually interviewed the parts guy there and went over everything, their inventory system, everything. And we work with Envision software, and they helped build a program for us, which is so awesome. And it made a huge difference. And everybody loved it because we didn't want them to have excuse to leave. We wanted it to be just actual cost so they could get it.
Yeah.
Our people that independents love it.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, and I'm sorry if I stepped on you
worries.
there. The point that I'm getting at here is I'm noticing this across the industry where, everybody at one time went, oh, independent, oh, poo-poo that idea. But it's really started to take off in a lot of areas. The part that I'm getting, what happened to you that you went, listen, if you can't win them, join them. What happened that you went, okay, well, we're just going to add this in? What was the, I don't know if it was just as obvious as I said, but what was your incentive to include independent in your business model?
Right. I have an identical twin sister, and she loves Excel spreadsheets. So we work well together.
Jody.
Yes, her name's Jody Brown. Anyway, we just decided that we really listened, and we were just watching and listening. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but we were just watching and listening. And we saw such lifestyle shifts in a woman's world. If they're single moms, we have a lot of single moms that go to our school and get no child support. So we're trying to find something that would work with them, and just literally being a mom in general. So that kind of is what sparked the mindset shift, was how can we better serve these women and men. We have a man that has kids too. How can we better serve them? So then we decided to design this as a lifestyle salon, because when you come out of beauty school and you have not a lot of clientele, that's hourly pay, and then if you have kids, the main thing was the shift to their schedules, so they could still have family first. So we are all about family first, and I think that's what keeps us so busy and so full, because that's a priority to us.
Yeah, this is when this, and I want to get very quickly into when people when they start, and then they always say that two best times of owning a salon is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. I think it's a kind of a generalization, because there's many great times in there. However, when I want to talk to you first about, when did you see that you and Jody started to pull yourself away from being at the chair and start to just focus more on the vision of where you wanted your company to be?
It was 1999, September. Isn't that crazy how I can bring that? I think I was doing 3 days a week, and I was probably doing more than anybody else in the salon. You just book yourself with associates. Yeah. And I was getting interrupted so much that I thought, I'm really not giving the guests the service that they deserve. And that's when I decided, I need to be a mom. I need to, really focus on where my energies lie. So we decided, just cold turkey, we sent out, information to all of our guests, and we stayed with them for a while. So it was like 6 months transition, and we transitioned over other people in the salon, and it only had to do one redo. And it took 2 people, maybe 3 people to replace us, but I got my life back. So I could strategize, have time to think, have time to put stuff on spreadsheets, have time to discuss, and really have time to listen. Because when you're behind the chair, you can't really see what's going on around you. And I miss behind the chair. I loved the creativity and all that. But I really needed to focus on the business, and I really needed to service not only the guests, but I also needed to service my team. Yeah.
What I loved that you said there is, I took a step back so I could look. and see what was going on. And I think that's something that often you get hairdressers as owners get so involved in their business that the vision that they had gets so clouded by paying bills and putting out fires, et cetera, that I think that's so wise of being able to do that. Just step back, and because I'm only going to speak about myself here. I think that there's that side in our industry where we move from employee to a business owner. And that could be, I have a staff of 1, 2, 3, 10, or 1,000, and it could be an independent. But I remember my teachers always saying how proud it was to hang your shingle over the door, and I think that's just an old Western movie context there. That it could, Chris's salon, Chris's barbershop, Chris's beauty salon, Chris's beauty box, whatever that would be. So you could have your name on the shingle, and that became about what's the word? I know what the word I'm looking for is, the verification of, look at who I am, look at how I got here. And I think that what happens as an owner that I love that you're saying is, look, if I want to become an entrepreneur, a true business people, I need to focus on my business and I need to focus on my people.
Right. Absolutely. And I purposely never named it my name back in the day, 40 years ago almost, because I knew that someday I'd sell it, Yeah. But I didn't realize back in the day that I would have a salon and a med spa and all that. So we just added it on, and we talked to marketing agencies about changing the name, because right now it's Hair Success Salons. But we're known in the area now, so that helps. Makes a difference.
Well, and I think that it's so nice is when you are in an area and you have the, hair success that you have, pun intended, that you become a destination. So it's not necessarily location is, they always say location, unless you're a destination spot. But so just very quickly before I want to head into some of our main reason why I want people to listen to you is, what was the size of your first salon, and when did that happen? To 2017, when you finally built this, what is it? 25,000, 26,000 square foot building.
My first salon was in Ada, Minnesota, and if it was 1,000 square feet, it was at least, with 1 or 2 people. And then we just, for a while there, we had 3 locations, and, every town is different. So in my town, everybody goes to the south part of the town. Not every town you can do this, but with ours, it made sense to take the 3 to 2 and then the 2 to 1, because everybody goes to that part of town. So I'm a believer that location is still important, because we're a destination spa for those gift cards and stuff, but we still are an everyday, servicing company for people. So location's very important. So we actually sat down. We just picked randomly some guests of ours, and we had strategy sessions. We gave them some wine and some drinks and some food, and asked them a lot of questions. And then they gave us a lot of feedback, because I did not think we were going to be in the location we were until our guests kind of helped drive us there. So we used guest input, and we asked them what they'd like to see in their town. And that's how we started kind of plugging and playing and putting it all together.
Nice. Well, that kind of sets it, because so you went from 1 to 2 people to now, I didn't count the number of people, but I'm guessing it's more than 20, 30, 40 people that you have employed in your business, and everything in there from your boutique to your restaurant and grotto, which, I think is a great idea if somebody wants to relax and go have a cocktail or whatever. But I want to talk a little bit about the knowledge that you have, and you and I have been talking about this for a long time in here. There's a picture of the grotto where you're going, and I've had a couple glasses of wine in there, and what I love you even have a couple recipes and things that you take from people that that are good recipes, and you employ them in there. But I want to talk to you a little bit. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a Bloody Mary recipe we use.
Oh yes, well next time I'm there, I want one of those. But there's so many people that I know, myself included, like when I had salons for X number of years, and it was always a decision that, not a snap, but it was an evolution. I wanted to move from I'm Canadian, so I wanted to move from one province to the next. So I had to obviously sell the businesses that I had there, and so on. So, but I had no knowledge of how to sell a salon other than just going, "Hey, I'm selling. Anybody want to buy?" And then it never turns out exactly the way you want. So I know since then that you guys have programs that you set up and on what's called succession planning. But first, can you tell us what actually is? Like if we say to somebody, have you got a succession plan in place? Can you tell us what that is?
Absolutely. First, I want to back up just a little bit. So I've always believed in networking with other entrepreneurs. So my first one was Noelle DiCaprio out of Stamford, Connecticut. And she kind of basically told us how to structure a day spa. And all of the tips and tricks she gave us, we never would have figured out for years. So she kind of sped us up a little bit for growth. Best thing I ever did. I have a place in my salon in her memory. She's just an amazing lady. Then from there, I also worked with Summit. Randy Kunkel was huge for me. In fact, when I first was interviewing who to network with, he said these words to me. So you have these 3 big salons, but you don't have an exit plan? And I went, yep, I have 3 big salons and I don't have an exit plan. And I decided to hire him. So it's interesting how many people go into a business and they don't think about the exit. I did somewhat think about the exit because of the name when I first set it up, because, I don't want to work myself to death. I'm also a mom. So I think it's important that people know that they should always, when going into a business, always in their mind or have somebody help them structure how to exit it as well.
Yeah. I find it very interesting that what you said, and I think that was insightful to say, I need to know it. And whether it was somebody else that sparked it, I know from talking to so many people that it's day to day, doing what I do, and then not planning for it. So,
Right.
So walk us through how, if you, I want to back it up a step, because even when we talked about succession planning, I'm one of those people that want to know, well, okay, succession planning, what is that different than an exit strategy, et cetera? But even corporations as a whole, there is really no owner like in small business, but corporations are always, there are always succession planning, meaning who are my top people? Where are they going to go? How far are they going to work with this? Where are they going to go? So they're always thinking about who is the next person that's going to replace the person that could be leaving. So they're always planning for it. And I find that succession planning actually is built, like Success Ion is
Right.
it's planning on your success, but how to succeed, not succeed. And how did you set yours up in the very beginning?
So we were actually deciding that we wanted to open a school because the school in Fargo didn't want us to come in to recruit anymore because they felt like we were competitors with their salons.
Oh, interesting.
Mistake. Anyway, I love that from the movie Pretty Woman. Anyway, so we thought, how can we free up our time even more? So because time was money, so we thought, if we're going to do this, we're going to sell some stock to some of our key players in the business. Now, we let everybody who was interested interview for the position, but we kind of knew who we were going to probably get, but we still wanted to make sure there were the best surprises, no surprise. Maybe there's somebody that really has the drive that we're just not aware of. So we brought on stockholders, and I have to say, we had to fire 2 stockholders too because it went to their head. Shocked us. They couldn't get past me to we, and us, all these different mindsets that you go through. So we tried coaching them through it, but they just couldn't get past the me. So in our stockholder agreement, it's very user friendly to us because we owned majority of the stock. So at any time we could pull the trigger and let them out, and then we can buy them out, or the rest of the stockholders could buy that out. We have that in the agreement. So how you set the agreement is important, and every state is different on what you can and can't do. So we set up our agreement. We had everybody sign it. We had our accountants, figure out what our EBITDA was. kind of where we were, what the stock value was. And I have to say, don't wait till you're too big. That was a mistake I made, because then it gets kind of expensive. So I was lucky though, because I started early. Our buyout's 20 years succession. Yeah. So otherwise they wouldn't have been able to afford to buy us out. And I wanted my key people to be able to have it. Another point I would do different is I would have probably picked a little bit of a younger group, because a lot of them are kind of my age. So then we're all going to be looking for the next stockholder, being right. Younger. But so we did that because, 49% of your business is debt equity. 51 is control. Yep. So we sold it to some stockholders. Only 2 we've let go. The rest have been absolutely amazing. Up our time so that we could then open another business. So we bought a school, and then the 2 together just kind of support each other. And then let's kind of work together.
Yeah, I want to go back a second there, because there's and we're not going to go all math on everybody here, but you had an interesting say you had to figure out all of your expenses, et cetera, but you had used a term called EBITDA. Could you tell us what is EBITDA and how does that affect what we do?
Your EBITDA is your earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. So an accountant kind of has to decide what that is, and then we scaled it down to how many shares we wanted to sell in the business. And you can do 1,000 shares, 100 shares, whatever you want to do. And then they divide it by that amount. And then what we did is every quarter when we would do a breakout, then the stockholders would have to pay us a check, and then we would have to pay them a check. So they were slowly buying us out. But in the meantime, we were slowly making more money, which gave us more capital to invest in other ventures.
So just to without going too deep into this, but so do these? Some people I've heard will say, "Well, listen, they can get in with sweat equity." Is that kind of what this is, or is it? But sweat equity means there's no money out of their pocket, but you're actually saying, is that a mistake if people do that? If they want to, well, you can just put sweat equity and it doesn't cost you anything. What do you feel about that?
Back in the day when I opened my salon, because I was a single woman, they would not hardly even give me a loan. So I had to flip some houses back in the day before that was even famous to get the loan. I would never let anybody in on sweat equity because their mindset's not going to be the same. They need to have their life a little bit on the line. They need to sign the paper, go to the bank, have it there. Otherwise, their mind shift does not turn or just think, nothing in, nothing out,
Yep. Yeah, as one famous person once said, you can't go there if you haven't got any teeth in the game,
Absolutely.
right? Absolutely. So listen, so what do you say to them that, is the money that they get from quarterly payouts that they get back? Do you advise, if I'm a new guy, I haven't done any succession planning and I want to start it. Do I pitch this to my people, and then do I get them to do they have to give me some money up front? Yep. How do you normally work that with them?
Depending upon how long you wait to do this, for us, we just required 20% down. So 20%, they had to get a loan from a bank or if they had it, but we required 20% down. And then every quarter, they would put money in, and then their stock would go up. So they started at a lower stock, and then once it slowly goes up for 20 years to get to the point where they want to be for stock. And in the meantime, they pay us. So.
Yeah. So if let's just put that in simple terms for those of us out there, me included, that are not math geniuses like you and Jill or you and Jody. If my business is worth $100 and I'm going to sell somebody 10% share, then they'd have to take out a loan. If they want a 10% share, 10% of $100 would be $10, right? Yeah. And they would have to take out a loan for 20% of that for $2. Is that correct? Pay you the $2, and then the rest is paid in how?
So then they pay the rest to us every quarter, whatever that, on their stock is. We have it figured out in an Excel spreadsheet for 20 years, whatever that calculation came to at the price of stock and how much stock they wanted to get. So everybody's a little bit different. We have some stockholders that own more stock than others. And then we do our breakouts. So the breakouts would help them with the paycheck, but still they paid us more than we paid them. And there's sometimes that, we decided for a while that we're not going to do any breakouts because we're going to build this big building. So, and talk about a committed team to do that, because they knew we kind of showed them where the journey is going to build this mega store, and then, obviously sell it down to the next group of stockholders.
Yeah. And if they know what the vision is, and you paint the picture right, then obviously there's always going to be a bit of risk. Yeah. So you talk a little bit about there's going to be some risk, but here's what this could end up as. So I think that's just I know you, and I know Jody and how you are with your team, and I think it's always that you have to be straight with the people and tell them what it is, and then they'll go the mile for you.
Yep. And you can do so much more when you have a team versus your individual self. That's why those two women that were I people or me people, they never worked, because we have to be a team. And you can do so much more when you have operation directors in certain operations. So I have 5, and they each have a certain operation that they oversee in my salon. And as it's grown, it always shifts, and we even have to bring some people that aren't stockholders to even help a little bit as well.
Yeah. So so these 5 people, they own up to X amount, but everyone has. They're not just they're not silent shareholders.
They're active.
So explain the difference to people like that's. I mean, it's different than going to your family and saying, "Hey, I'm buying a business. Can you lend me some money?" And they invest, and they can be either a loan or shareholders or whatever. But there's difference when you have people that are actually working as shareholders. So can you explain what do you do? How do you function out? How do you delegate who does what and who has responsibilities and accountability for what?
It's funny you say that, because there's 2 groups, because I like to network with people that really helped us. Johnny Stellato was one where he stockholders had different mindsets, because we're not all the same. Like some people are strong in accounting, some people are strong in leadership. So I didn't want them to all be the same. The other one was Dale Carnegie. We hired Dale Carnegie when we were interviewing the people, just to see where their strengths and weaknesses were. And we also did the DISC test, because we didn't want to be all the same. If we're all the same, then we're gonna fail, because we need all those different personalities to really make the whole thing work. So it's very interesting too, because when we did that, it made us not only make the whole thing work, but it also made us understand each other. That was how we can work together more. We kind of just know that, okay, if there's going to be a task, we know that that's going to go to Shannon or that's going to go to Pam, just knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are.
So if you had to tell people that, obviously this is nothing nailed in stone, but if you have a larger business, let me say this, let's start off with small and then move ourselves to larger. If you were going to have 1 or 2 shareholders to start with, what would the areas you would look for? Like you say, this area is the kind of person that I'm looking for to do X job, and this one is to do that job.
One is
what are those 2 areas?
One is accounting or bookkeeping. That's what I would
say those again.
Now that's kind of the thing about Jody and I. She is the bookkeeper, and I'm the HR. So together, that's worked well for us. But then when we brought on our team, we needed both of them as well. We just need both. Constantly as you grow, you need both in both areas.
Got it. So if you're small, then you need somebody that's going to look after all the accounting, the numbers, and then the other person is an HR looking after relationships, right? Now, let's say for the medium to large size, and they've got, say, let's say they've got 10 plus people. What would you subscribe to for the positions that they should have?
For 10 people, I still think they probably only need 2.
Oh,
when
interesting.
You get to 25 and 30, maybe you add 3. It kind of goes as you grow and how much they can handle. One of my stockholders, or a couple of my stockholders, are still behind the chair, but they do take office days too. So, it all depends on where you're at with your growth and your operations. So Jody and I just kind of oversee the businesses now. We don't do we're always there. I mean, I'm at the school today. Tomorrow I'll be at the salon. I like being on site just to hold everybody accountable, but I don't do the do anymore. I just don't.
Yeah.
And we have bi-weekly meetings.
Yeah. But I think that's important, because one thing that I hear from employees, when they don't understand the full aspect of being an owner, vision, and all the other things that are putting out fires, et cetera, is sometimes they just think that, oh, you're just standing back taking in all the money and we're sitting here doing all the work. While that is an opinion, we know that it's not necessarily true, because maybe for some, but most people are doing other work other than services at the chair. But I want to go back. What are still areas that you would say, like, is there somebody that needs to be in charge of education, or what are other areas besides the relationship between the people working and the numbers?
We have it in departments. And then education, I've just always done the education because I have the relationships with Redken, so then I know everybody. Yep. But I do have, different stockholders that help me when we have on-site classes and stuff. So we have breakfast, we have everything all ready for them. We have the big markers that my friend Chris Baran likes to use, any kind of teaching tools that they need. But so we have one in charge of our spa and med spa. We have another one in charge of hair, another one in charge of the restaurant that we have, because we do a lot of celebrations in that restaurant. Like Wednesdays is Winos Wednesdays for women in need of sanity. It's kind of Tuesdays we have live bands. I mean, we just always try to make it time to celebrate and really spend time with your family and friends. So we have somebody in charge of that, and then of course front desk, and then boutique.
This episode is sponsored by the Salon Associate Accelerator from trainersplaybook.com. Are you struggling with the time and cost of associate training? Do you feel like your salon is running you? We'll get your associates on the floor, all with 90% less time from you, so you can get back to building your business. Get them world-class design, finishing, color, and client care skills they'll use every day for the rest of their career, while you focus on realizing your vision. Go to trainersplaybook.com and get the Salon Associate Accelerator. And now, back to the show. Now, I want to go back to this. I'm not sure if I heard it right, but Wino Wednesdays for women of what?
Need of sanity.
Of sanity. Got it.
Sanity.
Yeah, and so is that come in and just have a glass of wine, or is that come in, get your hair done, have a glass of wine? How does that work?
They usually do both. Some come in and get their hair done, have a glass of wine, but usually it's just to come back and relax and just try all these different wines. Sometimes we'll even have a food pairing with the wines, and we'll usually take it from a different country kind of theme. So it's not something we normally have, so it's exclusive for that night. And then for men too, I mean, we can have beer flights, we can have whiskey flights. For women, it's wine flights.
Yeah, and what I love is that the fact is it's making everybody aware. Whether now are these all just customers? And when I say just customers, but customers that are your fan base, or does that help you attract other people that may not be coming to your business yet?
So our grotto was meant to be a celebration center, and it's really taken off because, we have groups that rent it for the weekends because we're not open Saturday nights, we're not open Sundays, and we're not open Friday nights. We do a lot of wedding parties on Friday nights. So all these new people are coming, and they go, wow, I didn't know that you could, have a glass of wine and a beer legally like this in a salon environment. So because we really designed it for lifestyle, because sometimes we have a cross between generations. Like my generation was, you work hard, all the time, and 60 hours a week, who cares? The new generation is 27 hours a week. How can we balance my type of people with younger people? Younger people need to make sure they can retire someday. And then us older people need that balance. So we're always talking about balance.
Yeah.
Lots of times we'll bring in speakers about balance and parenting and skincare and, everything that we think.
Oh, good for you. No, I think that's amazing. Now, I want to just kind of jump back into this because we were talking about shareholders, about their businesses and what they do. When you get a shareholder that's been behind the chair, so Chris is one of your people, and he or she, you're saying is, well, that could be a potentially good person. But Chris has been behind the chair all this while, and he or she has the mindset of focusing singularly on one person. And now I have to move from that mindset to be, as you called it, business. What do they just fold in, learn? What is the transition like?
It's crazy, but it's kind of like the more money you make, the more you think differently. So when they first started, yes, they were kind of me thinkers, kind of all of them a little bit because they don't know anything different. And as we drew the vision and the Excel spreadsheets, we could make them think bigger, about how this could be bigger and better, not only for themselves, but for the end game to sell it to the next generation. And not only that, they have pride in, really trying to be a 5-star salon and spa. So it's all about, teaching people how to communicate, how to, dress for success, how to set yourself up for success. All those things are really important. And then also to set yourself up for feedback, because it's constructive feedback is where the real life lessons happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
That's
So
training.
I was going to say that's really, they've got to get training, not only for mindset, but for knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
Is that, and I'm sure that's why you've had people like my good friend Johnny Stellato in there, who helps with team building and team understanding, and I think that in building your culture.
Yep.
So how important, and I know this is a stupid question, but I can't think of anywhere else and how to get there. But how important is culture within your organization?
It's everything, because attitude is all about being grateful to everybody, but it also is the altitude of the business. So if they don't feel that gratitude or feel like they're accomplishing something, then the culture shifts because they'll have anger or they think they're working too hard or whatever it may be. That's why even if they're 1099s, according to our lease, we have dress code in there. We even have, our expectations on, professionalism, 5-star. We have a Hair Success 5-star system that we use, and they have to self-evaluate themselves. And usually they're harder on themselves than we are. They have to go through that. It's like, okay, now they know where there's areas to grow. And 9 times out of 10, we don't even have to tell them because they already kind of know. But at least we've set the expectation, because that expectation is going to not only affect their bottom line, but it's going to affect the whole team and how we work together.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I think culture is a word that gets bandied about, not inappropriately, but the reality is people think that if you have the right culture, that there is no arguments, there is no conflict, but there is. I mean, if you look at some of the most winning sports that there are out there, they still have conflict within the team. But then the team, which has rules, knows how to deal with it, and they can just get that out of the way. That's just human nature, that we're going to have conflict, especially
code of honor.
Yeah, having a code of honor and rules of the way that you play the game together, and you stand by one another, because we all know that the more people that you have involved in your business, the more likelihood there is going to be of conflict, and there is more likelihood that there is going to be harder to get people to toe the line.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about that, and you started your exit strategy, aka succession planning, Well, so it was probably 20 plus years ago. Is that somewhat close?
It's about 18 years ago I started it.
Okay, good. And you suggest to people to have it about 20 years out so that you can make it work, yeah?
And you could even do a 10 and a 15,
yeah.
But it all depends on where you're at. I waited too long. My salon was worth too much value. So if you don't wait too long, it just depends on what your cost per share is and what they can afford. Right. So I had 3 big salons by the time I thought of it, or it was brought up to me, and I always wondered how I was going to sell it. Nothing worse than seeing somebody just closing their business and not, handing off the baton to somebody. I think that's just sad because they put all this work, all this energy for years. It's their passion, and then they get nothing for it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Not to mention the new people take it even to another level,
Yeah. Well, because that's all part of the evolution factor that goes along with the business, right? So you're not saying that it's succession planning so that the business stays stagnant, they just take it over. It's constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly worth more money. And that's what gives the drive for more people to join your organization, yeah?
Yes. And just an example, we have a 22-year-old that just started, and she's amazing. And she's taking all of our departments in with apps on, work schedules and communication between them. Granted, we have an internal Facebook page that we have fun with and stuff like that. And we do share some information. We do have rules on there, what can go on there and what can't go on there. And I'll take it off if I see anything. But I really haven't even had to monitor it much, but just having these apps for each department to talk within them as you get bigger, that was huge. And I'm not as technical as them, so I think that's great.
Jill, that's another thing worthy of noting in there is I've seen people that have taken over or they will get a position and then they want to micromanage everything. While you're saying, here, this is your responsibility, but as the owner, I still want to micromanage and everything and have, check the dots, cross the T's, rather than just letting people run with something. I'm not saying let it fail, but you have to give some people autonomy. So is that a necessary part of what you do and what I like that you said is they just come up with these ideas and do them. And I only have to do a safety check if something isn't working.
It's so funny you say that, Chris. In the beginning, our team wanted to do this, that, and whatever. And Jody and I had already done it, and we knew that it would probably fail. But we thought, you know what? That's how we learn, because we feel the lessons are in the failures. So we spent the money, and we did it. And this situation, it did fail. But there's other situations that they came up with that didn't fail. So, but if you don't let them fail, you don't give them the authority to do their job. I won't step on somebody else ever. Like they try to play the mom against the dad type of role with us, of me and the manager. And I said, did you go with this person? Did you talk about this? I'm not going to answer any questions until I know you've gone through it with this person first.
Yeah. The other thing that and just a side note from this is our teacher, one of the teachers that I have always talks about how, and that's Jason Everett, and he says, if you're constantly the one that answers all the questions, they'll always come to you for the questions. And the example he gave he said he was coaching someone. And they said, I can't stand it when my staff keep coming in here, and they'll say, "What time is the meeting again?" And then that person would have to respond, "Well, the meeting's at 10:30 or whatever time it was." And they said, "Why are they doing that?" She says, "Because you tell them the answer."
Right, and they don't have to think for themselves.
Yeah. Okay, so we've given everybody some ideas of what succession planning is and how to do it, etc. But let's say you're in the latter part of you're a salon owner, you haven't done any exit strategy, and you've got to 2 to 3 years left. And because I know I just had this conversation with a good friend of mine just the other day, very successful salon, didn't feel they had the right people to take over, and got themselves about 3 years left. And what would you say to those people? Like, how do they? Do they plan, or is it what? How would they? Let's say they got 3 years left or 2 years left in their till they want to hang up the scissors or the color brush or whatever? What would you say to them?
There's so many different ways that you can sell your business. If you don't have the right people, there are business brokers. For example, I had a school in Canada, and then COVID hit. Well, they don't let you cross the border. So we hired a business broker to help us sell that because we couldn't even get there to find people. And that's very, very common. I've seen lots of people do that. And then the business broker will help find the right people to bring in. I even had a girlfriend that had 2 salons merged together so that they could make this happen. Together,
that's
we
interesting.
do better. So I've seen all different kinds of scenarios. And you can also hire a broker to look for private equity if you're really big and you want somebody to buy it, and then they manage it at a little bit different level, but not saying that it's a bad level either, because they have their checks and balances as well.
Yeah.
And plus, then your team is still in place too. So, it's not like they're starting over. So there's so many different ways they could do it depending where you're at.
Yeah. So if you had to, if we had to sum that up into, say, 3 or 4 points that you would advise people to do when they want to plan their exit strategy, what would those be?
Number 1, create the journey. So the people you think you have that wouldn't do it don't have any idea what the journey or the vision is. So a lot of people will say to me, I don't have the people. Well, have you ever shared your vision and where you want to take it?
Yeah.
And they usually say no. Well, you've got to share that with them, because you'll be surprised. I was shocked on who wanted this to be a partner in the business, because they wanted to be in business for themselves, but they didn't want to be by themselves, because by yourself, then you're working hard versus smart. They wanted to work smarter, and if you just end up working smarter. So number 1, draw the vision. Number 2, ask those hard questions. Where do you want to take it? Where don't you want to take it? With each one of the people that you're interviewing. And then also you have to really do the baseline evaluation, your methodology of how you want to do that, because the thing that's helped keep our stockholders' culture and attitudes up is the Excel spreadsheet of, we know where we're going, so we know where we're taking it.
And you mean, and is that from more than a monetary level or strictly from monetary level?
It's kind of both, because, you're creating a legacy for yourself and for passing it on. So.
Yeah. I loved how you talked about giving your vision. And then I think it was in number 2, you talked about aligning the visions, which was, here's my vision, but if you're part of it, where do you want it to go? And making sure that the two fit together and you're not going in paths that are contrary. So I love that.
And not to mention, there's brilliance in each one of the people in our organization. Down to the brand new 22-year-old that just started, So you just got to pull the brilliance out of them. But you've got to make it a safe area so they're not scared to be able to share and do all that. So some of these, I like to call them spitball ideas, have been amazing. For example, one that shocked me years ago was, why don't we call the TV and radio people, and why don't we do their hair and makeup, and then we'll just exchange our cost for marketing and advertising. And I thought, well, yeah, why don't we do that? So we called the TV stations, and people think, oh my gosh, the weatherman goes there, and all these people go there, so they think it's like a famous place. In fact, even one of my front desk wanted the weather guy's autograph. So, it just kind of brings excitement having all of them there as well. And it's also, again, advertising your work on everything. And that was a spitball idea that somebody that I would never expected it to come out of. Now, granted, he gave me probably 50 before that worked, but that one was good.
Yeah. That's it. You, as long as you're throwing enough ideas out, you're going to pick 1 or 2 that are going to be great.
Yep. And if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. You don't ask, you don't get. Jill, what as an overall, I know you, and because we've been friends business partners together for years, but what really pushes you? What like when Jill gets up in the morning, why do you do what you do? Because I know you as, for those of you who don't know, well, I can phone Jill at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, her time, and she's still at work. So, but why do you do what you do? Yeah, there you go. Why do you do what you do?
I love what I do. And, time management is always something I work with, so I can try to shorten those days. It's really seeing those light bulbs turn on with others that really kind of makes me do what I do. And I just kind of want to be able to pass that on. I mean, I was taught by so many mentors all these years, and I'm very education hungry. I always want to learn how to do it better.
Yeah. Who are some of those mentors?
You were one of them. Blair Singer is one of them. Johnny Stellato, Noel DiCaprio, Randy Kunkel, my sisters, my stockholders. I have Jason Everett. I have so many of them, but I truly believe in always looking for education, and Minty, because it's nice to see another person's perspective, because how I think it may be and how they think it may be is not even the same. So it's kind of cool. I like,
just how
I guess I don't call it constructive criticism, but I like different people's views because there's always ways to do it better.
Yeah. And I like what you said there with this, constructive criticism, but, sometimes, it's not criticism if you're just stating the obvious,
Right.
Here's what happened. What do you think that happened there? And let people discover from that, It's I think when people beat people up, that's what happens too often in our culture and in our society. We make a mistake, and then there's almost like a free fall that happens from there. And then so we say we're never going to make a mistake. We're never going to try anything new. But again, that's a whole nother topic.
What did your Band-Aids used to say? You said those Band-Aids.
Oh yeah, mistakes are okay.
Yeah. So when you make that culture, it's the thing of it is with mistakes for business, it's not personal. It's always trying to get everybody to think out of their box, and not stay in it.
Yeah, that was just as an FYI. So people are wondering when we're talking about Band-Aids, what do you say on them? We use Band-Aids as a part of our marketing campaign with our company Fuel that, we knew that mistakes are okay and you often have a wound and you can put that on. And that was wasn't something we came up with. I believe that was, I think it was Bobby Foster Kelly that said you should make Band-Aids that have mistakes are okay on it. And I went, that's freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's where some of that stuff comes from. In your evolution process, I mean, you went from hairdresser, entrepreneur, you own franchises. What in the evolution that you've had from one to the other, if there was something that was out there that you wish you hadn't done? And I know there's going to be, everybody says, well, everything that I do is, made me who I am today. But there really, there is also that other side that it doesn't mean we won't be who we were if we did something differently than what we did at a time. If there's something that you in there that in your evolution, what would that be that you wish you wouldn't have done?
Or more education sooner. I worked hard for many years before I learned how to work smart. And it was really hooking up with like-minded entrepreneurs. But you have to go out there. You have to find it. You have to go look for it. I wish I would have done that 15 years sooner, because for 15 years, I really kind of just stayed the same until I finally started, looking for, education in every aspect. So I really wish I would have started that earlier.
Yeah, that's so true.
Teaming with other people, entrepreneurs. I will tell you, I am very picky about who I spend my time with. And if somebody is negative or brings me down, I just can't go there. I just really focus on my friends and people that build me up, and I learn from the other ones that, of course, I'm going to try to change them a little bit if I can, or try to make them have a mirror and look at themselves. I once had a good girlfriend tell me some factual things sometimes, and it's like, wow, you can take it if you've built that relationship with them to be able to. First, you got to build that relationship.
Yeah. If you trust the person, then you know it's coming from the right place. people see, I mean, the size of your business, the size of organization, the number of businesses that you have. You have homes, you have lake houses, etc., and all the stuff that comes along with having a good deal of success. But sometimes people don't see the shit that you have to push through. They don't see the setbacks that you had and the rough patches that were in your life. What were there any that was out there where you said, "Mom, I don't want to get out of bed today"? Was there any of those that, I mean, sure, it wasn't all sunshine and lollipops along the way. Was there anything out there that really was setbacks that you had to get through?
Jody and I call them ceilings, and they're tough because you hit ceilings as you're growing, and sometimes you don't realize you've hit that ceiling. So when stuff isn't changing, what we like to do is just back away and look and listen and see what we could do better. Or we'll have our stockholders or operation directors come in and we'll have a little session on, what could we do better? And I want everybody just to listen. I want you just to come back in a week, tell me what you learned, and let's, think out of the box. And when we hit a ceiling with our salons, we actually brought a bunch of our guests, and we purposely picked different ages, and so we get all these different perspectives, and we had strategy sessions. They were so amazed that, we bought them drinks and dinner, and we had it all structured, and we had our sheet, but then we had, this open sheet for them. And that's where the learning became, because it wasn't from us, and how they viewed the business and what they'd like to see. So that was huge. So I would say, take a step back, listen and learn, because you're going to pop through those ceilings. And then, of course, you've got to design an Excel spreadsheet so you can pay for them, because usually when you hit a ceiling, there's an investment that needs to be made for that change. And people don't always save for that. And you need to, because when you get to that ceiling, you need to invest at another level. I see so many salons that just are dated, and yet you expect people to come in and get the latest and the greatest, but yet they walk in and they feel like they're 10, 15 years, even 20 years behind. Right. That we're in such a business of, what you see. So it's very important that you keep everything updated. Yeah.
Well, Jill, we're sort of coming up to the end here, and this is a part that I love. This part, this is it's called what we put our rapid fire segment together, and I just want to know what I'm going to ask you just some questions. First, 1-2 words that come to your brain when I ask you. Okay, what turns you on in the creative process?
What turns me on in the creative process? I guess I love research and looking at things to decide where I need to be creative. And I love education. So they kind of are probably what makes the creativity come, or something different. Jody and I aren't scared to try something new. Even if it fails, we'll learn from it. But I would say just searching. I like to research.
Nice. And what stifles creativity for you?
When I'm too busy doing the do and I can't step back to take the look and to research.
The thing in life that you dislike the most?
Mowing the lawn. I hope my husband's listening.
Yes, well, and I hope now that we've talked about your success, just pay somebody to do it. And what do you love the most in life?
I love watching other people grow. I know this sounds crazy, but one time, I'll never forget this, during a one-on-one session with a girl named Daisha, and I asked her what her goals were, and she wanted marble floors in her house. And then when she called me back when she got her marble floors, stuff like that, I love. Yeah, and I love watching when a service provider that works here buys something new and they're excited. I love that.
Yeah. And what do you hate most about our industry?
I hate how it's disrespected, and I hate how people don't celebrate what they make. I think people are so scared to say what they make. I don't know why, and it holds everybody back. from the industry. So I always say on social media, say what you make, say what a wonderful, beautiful career this is, and how you can make everybody, when you feel better, you look better, and you just become wiser. It's because you have confidence.
Yeah. 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 Abundance is okay, and be proud of it and advertise it. The person that you admire the most?
Oh boy, there's so many. Off the top of my head, people are going to think it's crazy, but I have this amazing daughter. I have an amazing son as well, but my daughter challenges me and makes me think different. Of course, she's 20 years old. But like I just wrote an article for a magazine, and I'm not a writer. I know the content, but I don't know how to make it so fun and interesting. She came to the lake the other day, and within 15 minutes, she took my article and just redid it. I was just blown away.
Yeah, love it. Person that you wish you could meet?
Donald Trump, so I can cut his hair. I even did a video on this, and luckily, this is back in the day. I forget the name of the show where people sat around the circle and we're talking about being an entrepreneur. And anyway, that lady came to Fargo, and I handed her my video, and that's because my students challenged me, because I'm always teaching them, if you don't ask, you don't get. So they said, well, what do you want? And I go, I'd love to cut his hair. I mean, I just can't stand an intelligent person with a hairstyle like that. So.
Yeah. Okay. So something about you that people don't know. That
I'm a farmer's daughter. I come from Hillbilly, USA, so I can always joke about that with people. And I'm not scared to work. I know how to drive a tractor and a truck. People don't always think that you do that, but
it's going to come in handy.
Yep.
A month off, where would you go and what would you do?
A month off, I would go to Hawaii. I am a Hawaii person. And just rent a house with my family. That would be my goal.
Yeah, something you're terrified of.
I hate spooky movies. I'm one of those to watch the horror thrillers. Accidents. If there's accidents, I guess there's always
favorite comfort food?
Licorice.
Licorice, love it. Something in the industry that you haven't done but you want to.
Something in the industry that. There's so many. Well, I'm in the process of franchising my salon.
Ooh.
So that is something that I've wanted to do, and I'm, working with the Marriotts and the Deltas. So I guess that's something that I've always wanted to do.
Nice.
And then my team, after we sell the salon, they can be trainers.
Like it. Love it. Okay. Something that if you could do over in your life, what would it be?
To look for education faster. Like I said, I did it just thinking that was the only way to do it until I started meeting mentors that have changed my life and really helped me along the way.
Yeah. Tomorrow you couldn't do anything that had anything to do with hair. What would you do?
I'd go to the lake.
Oh, there you go. And you have a damn fine place too that I can't wait to get back out to. Last question that we have. Well, actually, first of all, before I ask you the last question, you also have, you are part of the franchise with Spec. So if anybody wants to talk to you about succession planning, or if they want to send you a note about getting involved in schools, how can people get a hold of you?
You can go to specfranchise.com and just click Learn More, and it comes right to myself and Ethan's, my associate's inbox, and then we schedule a call.
Okay, good.
A lot of people that have bought schools, I'd probably say 90% of them, they sold stock in their salon so that they had the money to do other ventures.
Yeah, nice. Okay, last question. If you had one wish for our industry as a whole, and we could snap our fingers and make that change right now, what would that be?
For people to have the respect for the industry And when a daughter says she wants to go into hairdressing or skincare or nails, that the parents go, oh, that's fantastic. And thinking that they don't make money. I oftentimes have spoke at many events about celebrate the wins. I don't think people celebrate the wins enough in our industry. So then the average person has no clue that you can be a six-figure salon stylist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
My friend Harry Woods wrote a book about being a six-figure salon stylist, and he's amazing. So I recommend everybody read that book. It's just very good.
Nice. Jill, I know that in your life you're busy as you are, and I want to thank you so much for being and taking away time just to help other people. So, by the way, if anybody is interested more and wants to know more about, is interested in, say, a class on succession planning, if you could actually just chris@chrisbaran.com and just send me notes or whatever if it intrigues you or not, and we will. I'm sure with Jill we could put some classes together and make sure that people get the real insight on exactly how to do it. So, but Jill, I want to thank you so much. It was a pleasure and honor. Can't wait to be out at the lake house one more time, sharing a glass of wine with you and Tim.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Chris.
Cheers.